Hey, what's up? So glad to have you here for another edition of Daily Scone. And something that I want to do is get into several rules. I'm using air quotes, like rules of talk radio, really, but of any media, especially in the new age of digital media. And there's a reason in particular why I want to talk about this one today. And the one I want to talk about is passion. And I know I've said before that the number one rule in media is know thy audience, and that's absolutely true. You have to know who it is that you're talking to, regardless of what type of media you're in. If you're in radio, if you're in TV, if you're in print, if you're doing public speaking, in any form of communication, know thy audience is the number one rule of media. The way you would deliver a message to a class of fifth grade students is very different than the way you would deliver a similar message to a boardroom of CEOs. So you've got to know your audience. That's one. But if there is a close second, especially in talk radio, it's passion. Passion drives talk radio more than anything else. The simplest way that I can put it is, if you're a host and you don't care about your subject matter, why in the world would the guy sitting in the car driving home from work care either? Why would he or she spend their time, their precious free moments listening to you if you don't even care about what you're talking about? It's in I'll give you some examples, but it's why, in part, when people in sports media say the dog days of summer, it makes my skin crawl. And by the way, I did a whole podcast on the dog days of summer. So scroll back, listen to it. You can find it. I did an extensive conversation about dog days of summer and how you get through, maybe leaner months. But if you are on a radio show, or you're anchoring the evening news, or you're writing a column, or you're doing a podcast, and you use the phrase, well, it's the dog days of summer, essentially what you're conveying to your audience is nothing going on. Why pay attention? If you don't think there's anything going on, why would your audience even think there's anything going on? So you have got to be passionate about the subject matter you're discussing. And it doesn't matter. I'm not just talking about sports. And it doesn't even matter if you're professionally in it right now, you're thinking about getting in it, but maybe even more so for those thinking about getting into media. If you're thinking about doing a podcast, or thinking about doing a vlog, or thinking about starting a YouTube channel, or whatever it may be, I've told you before, just start. Start today. No matter how awful you are today, and you're probably going to suck if you've never done it before, but that's okay. The only way to get better is reps. So start. But when you start, pick something about which you are passionate. I'll give you examples. I'll give you a big national example. Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons started as the Boston sports guy. He was writing a blog in the early 2000s about Boston sports, and he developed a following, and it became popular enough to where ESPN.com had that silly page 2. They hired Bill Simmons, and he was the sports guy, and he wrote columns, and that became super popular, and then his brand grew within ESPN, and now he is what he is. That's a giant, large national scale of someone who started in his market and gained popularity. I'll give you a local example here in Louisiana. A friend of mine, a guy named Jay Ducote. I went to school with Jay Ducote, and he was just a guy who tailgated, liked to cook, and liked to eat, and liked to drink, and that was his passion. He had a normal job, but he said, this is what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about food. So he started Bitin' Booze, and Bitin' Booze became a website, and a blog, and a radio show, and a podcast, and before you know it, Jay Ducote's on the Food Network with, Food Network star. It's like, take what you're passionate about and drive that passion into your medium, whatever it is, and that's how you will attract people to it. If you're passionate about fitness, then do a fitness podcast or fitness vlog and find a way to get people really excited because you're excited. It's contagious. If you're passionate about sports, then do sports. If you're passionate about news and current events, then do that. If you love fixing cars, then do that. Wherever your passion is, whatever in your life. If you're passionate about Disney World, do a podcast about Disney, about the rides that you like, and help people plan trips and what's new and what rides and what vendors or whatever. I mean, find things that you're passionate about, and that is how you will attract an audience that shares that passion. Identify your passion and go there, because passion drives this medium more than anything else. I hope that helps you more than any. Passionate and get started, man. I did another podcast. I'll keep referring you back. And again, my hope with this whole podcast is to become a resource to people. So go back and listen to the Just Start podcast I did a little while ago, a couple days ago. But look, man, I'll give you a very brief example. And I think this is commonplace. Whenever you have friends within the media, not only in your market, within the profession, but outside as well, they rely on each other and they bend their ear. And I have a buddy who lives in a different market who's trying to hire for that person's particular station, and he said, "Hey man, I'm scouting talent. Have you heard anybody? Anything that you like?" And the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start listening to podcasts. I'm gonna go start doing searches in that area for people that are podcasting, that are actively in it, that are passionate about what they're doing, that are waiting for that break. That could be you. So just start, no matter how good or bad you think you are today. Just start, and then ask people who you trust and respect in that profession to see if they can give you notes on how to get better, how you can improve. But passion drives the medium. Do what you are passionate about. You can tell I'm passionate about this. I appreciate you for listening. Please, I beg of you, hit the subscribe button. It does not matter which platform upon which you are listening. If you're on Podbean, or if you're on iTunes or Google Play Music, or if you're on Stitcher or Spreaker or wherever you may be listening, thank you sincerely for listening. Hit the subscribe button, rate us, and tell a friend. If you think this could help somebody, don't just sit there and wait. Like, hit the button and link it to them. Share it with them. At them on Twitter with this link. If you think someone could use this as a resource, pass it along. That's my sincere hope. Just keep passing this along, and let's start a great conversation about this medium, which I love, passionate about as well. Y'all have a great night.